to another episode of In the Know with Joe. I'm your host, J Biz, aka Joe. I told you every week I'm gonna bring you some amazing guests, some very talented people. So, Mya, introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Mya.Bre Morton. I am a Atlanta director and cinematographer.
Atlanta director, cinematographer, used to be an actor, does a little bit of everything, right? Are you from Atlanta originally?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. You mind me asking your age?
I'm 21.
Oh, the kid. Oh, so you okay? You're making some pretty good moves for the age you are right now. Now I see a couple things with SCAD. Is that the school you went to, or?
Correct. I'm still at SCAD. I have one more class till I finish. Yep.
So you're almost done.
Correct. Yep.
And what do we do after this? We go full time into directing. Do you know yet, or?
Hopefully, just make some money.
Hey, that's the goal. That's the goal for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Just to give a little background of where we met, I was an Uber driver. A lot of people I met in Atlanta, to be honest with you, pertaining to the film industry, tech industry, business, anything, I met in my Uber. I met you in my Uber, and I'm a people person. I'm a talker, obviously. So I was like, hey, let me get your info. I do this now on a production company, and we like to pull cards. So I didn't have to pull your card because I followed your Instagram and I watched the amazing work that you've been working on. I'm not a yes man, no BS. Like, I've watched you do a lot of work, and I'm like, damn, she's working. Like, you've been working, sweating, working. I see everything you're doing. Like for instance, look at that. You've been working during COVID right now. Do you feel like this is exactly where you want to be at right now?
Yeah, I think it is. This is probably the first time that I've actually been like, okay, this is like a path I could actually see myself going down. But of course, it's, as you know, it's very difficult and it's very taxing.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of work. It's hard on the joints. I mean, it's a lot of standing up. I mean, constant. We're talking about 12 to 15-hour days to get back to it the next morning and seeing the same faces for months at a time. Well, sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's months. But before we get a little too far, let's get a little background on you. You did say you're from Georgia. Are you from Atlanta? What part of Atlanta are you from?
So it's always a hard question for me to answer, but I grew up in the DeKalb, Gwinnett area.
Okay.
Technically, but I spent a good amount of my childhood in Kuwait.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was out there for 7 years.
Military?
Basically, my parents work for a company that works for the military.
Contractors, yeah.
They're IT contractors. Yep.
That's awesome. See, you see why I got my drone. That's what I'm trying to do eventually. Get my Pro 107, get up in the air for these That's where the money's at. That's awesome. So, I've met a lot of people that do contract work like that, and they, I met a guy who literally goes down there to survey buildings, and he's getting paid like $2 just to go there and survey a building. Yeah. Wow, why the military? Yeah. That's how the money flows. But besides that, so then you come back to Atlanta. At what age was it that you come back to Atlanta and you're like?
I left when I was 8 and came back when I was 15.
Wow. So was it a homeschooling thing you did over there?
No. I went to a private school there, the American School of Kuwait. It was honestly basically the same as growing up here. Just you're in a Muslim country. You're with a whole bunch of international students. And for weekend trips, people go to Dubai. Very regular.
Wow, wow. Yeah. That's their Six Flags. That's their. Let me ask you this: what's your background? Where you from? I mean, what's your ethnicity? Where your parents from?
All of my family's from Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, as far back, I tried my hardest to be something else, but I think the furthest I tracked it was New York.
Oh,
so
we all,
yeah.
There's a lot of us out here. Don't believe it. Us Northerners are very, very, very rooted here as well. Because even when I was young in New Jersey, a lot of the Southern ways are, weaved into the things we do up north. Like, you notice like the way they cook and stuff. If it's a black family, you say, oh well, I have a lot of people in South Carolina, Georgia, stuff like that. So I've been out here 10 years from New Jersey, and believe me, it's an amazing place. It's growing. The industry is great. I mean, for what you do, this is the perfect place to be in, would you say? Or, I mean, do you jump between LA, or this is like ATL's where it's at now? So,
I would say Atlanta's the best place to grow and to like find yourself. And then for me, like LA and New York is very tempting, but there's so much other competition to where it's like I'd rather go out there when I have a job. when like that gig sends me out there, and that way I don't have to like fight with everyone else because we fighting out here, you know.
Yes,
So
that's you.
yeah,
But I mean, from the content I've seen, I mean, you're doing a pretty good job fighting. So,
thank
let's keep these rounds going.
you.
Uh, so let's talk about before we get into your new projects. Let's talk about some of the things you have gotten into when it
Mhm.
comes to short films and stuff like that. What would you say are some of your favorites besides the one that you recently done? I mean, I think I've sent you something earlier that I was nominated. What was the nomination for?
Um, I think the Black Film Fest. There it is, Black Film Festival. Uh, there's so many film festivals to where I can't pay attention to all of them. You know what I mean? But honestly, I'm just grateful that that people are liking it.
So you get
Everyone's
love.
put a lot of work into it.
You getting love. You're getting a lot of love for what you're doing.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Um, Now, I can't say that I can't say you're just doing black filming because you're not, because I just seen your recent trailer. So
Mhm.
we were talking about off camera. We were talking about genres. Like you said, you don't consider yourself in any genre. Why is that? Why don't you pick a genre? Why is it just your style? It's like freestyle, or is it something that you just haven't found yet?
Partially, I haven't found it. Other partially, I'm trying to understand the way that everything is kind of made. I mostly just want to make, great stories that kind of touch people. So, what I like to watch, is, kind of like Black Mirror type
Oh,
stuff. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So like one day I want to be able to make, Black Mirror type content,
and I would
uh,
be your biggest fan.
robot type stuff, things that make you think.
I mean,
Uh,
when I tell you, if I'm not mistaken, maybe you can correct me because I'm a big fan. But I was told that every episode was done by a different director. I
yep.
think that's
Mhm.
amazing to me because
Yeah.
man,
Different director, different, a whole different crew,
that's a
different, like,
and like
yeah,
there was a few people like the kid with the freckles and that one episode where the you could take
yeah,
like and stuff like that DNA. He was in a few different ones, but in general, yeah, it looks like it was a majority of it was in Australia, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. I think they go. It started off in London, and then now I think they just travel wherever
Everywhere.
the story leads them. But from what I'm understanding, there's different writers, different directors, different. It's like a whole nother movie. You know
We're
what I
not
mean?
season, right? It's only 3 seasons, right? Don't tell me that because
Right.
I remember the last one is the new intern.
Or oh yeah, that was a I think there was one after that. I could be wrong. There was that one, and then there was I think there's a season 4 or 5
Well, I gotta
where
check.
they only had 3 episodes.
We have Netflix, so you know,
Yeah.
talking about stuff like that to me, that I mean, isn't that considered like sci-fi type? You know what I mean? Like to me,
Mhm.
that I love that stuff. I watched 100. I watch
Mhm.
stuff
Yeah.
like you got to keep me thinking. You got to keep me on my toes. I can't. You can actually like if you ever met my wife, we watch a lot of TV like that, and I predict a lot of things because since I was a little kid, my mom used to have a shelf of the VHSs, and we used to put the little piece of paper in the VHS and record another show and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I was recording everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very a lot of movies are very predictable. On you can predict the words or the next scene that's and something that's going to
Yeah.
happen. The next word that's going to be said,
Mhm.
and stuff like Black Mirror, like that is the stuff. Like if you start doing
Yeah.
that, fire. So let me ask you. Let me ask you this now: Is what have you done that's literally all yours now? Have you done any projects that literally just your project, or are you always collaborating?
Um, so since I'm a film student, a lot of the projects that I end up having to do are on a deadline. And say for instance, we'll get an assignment one week, and then the film will be done 2 weeks later. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So with that being said, you'll end up writing it within a couple of days, casting it within a couple of days, filming it within a couple of days, and editing it within a couple of days. So in theory, it is all mine, but it's not. They're never really passion projects because
You got
I'm doing it for a grade. Um, so I've been helping a lot of people make their vision come true. Um, I'm not much of a writer. I will write because I do like to have my own ideas, if that makes sense.
yes, of course.
But I've always hated writing. I've always hated reading. But when you do have that baby and you're like, man, like I did, you know what I mean? So there's a couple of projects where it's been like, okay, well, I'm proud of this. I like the way I wrote it. I think this could, benefit other people. People would enjoy it. But there's nothing that's like as personal for me quite yet as like a Black Mirror would be. if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
like I'm a good singer, but I'm not, I'm not trying to pursue, So I understand because most people don't understand. Like, there's a lot of talented people in this world who don't like their talent, and it is
Mm.
it's like you can be the best writer in the world, but you like directing. And I also believe that you can chase a passion and turn it into something you passionately love. Because
Yeah.
start learning. Like, literally, before I picked up a drone, I was like, man, I'm not spending no money on no toy that can crash into a tree. And
Right.
being a photographer, videographer now, realizing the potential and what this could bring you is like sometimes you just do have to go a different route. You know what I mean? To find different ways.
Mm.
Um, let's talk what's going on now with the pandemic. How easy is it? How hard is it? First of all, being a student still, are you doing virtual classes? Are you in? Because I can see everything's hands on. I can see everything that pertains to music. You can't do a virtual movie. That's
Yeah.
impossible. Like,
Mhm.
everybody just stream.
Right. So for us, they moved our classes online um, after March
Okay.
when the world fell apart.
Yes.
So I was supposed to finish my thesis class in order to graduate during that period of time. That is a class that has to be done in person. Well, that class is you have to write a paper and you have to make a film, and you're supposed to have a big budget. It's supposed to be the best film you do thus far within your academic career.
Who's but
Um, our budget, whether it's personal money or grant money or crowdfunded.
so you have to
Uh,
figure it out.
yeah. You have to
But
figure.
I don't mean to pump the brakes on that, but that's very important for people and the youth to understand when they go into these schools that, SCAD is a hard school to get into, or when you get into it's an expensive school. Let's
Very,
just not sugarcoat, 'cause you know that you're there.
very,
But to understand that not only do you have to, because we all know that's the most important part of you going to college is to
yep,
do that thesis problem. It's called thesis, right? That
right.
that's very important. So you're
Mhm.
telling me that it's like, and I don't want to use this in a sense, but the TV show, which one I'm talking about, where you have to go out there and do projects, and you might get fired by the guy that's
Mhm.
that guy that's in office right now. Anyways,
Right.
that show, but that's the same type of thing that you have to do your own funding, you have
Yep.
to cash your own crew. So pretty much, this is going to be your first actual. This is me. This is So are you going
Yeah.
to do something that's passionate to you, such as something like Black Mirror or something, or do you already have an?
So the that was my initial thought to do something like that. By the time I was in the class, we have a I think it's called like a pre-production class for the thesis, which you have to pass in order to actually do the thesis project. But um, that's pretty much everyone's first choice to do. Whatever your biggest idea, do something like that. I decided not to do that just because it's I'm still in a school system.
Okay.
So to not get too in depth with it, but everything's still very political in the sense of you have to turn in all your ideas. You have to get the entire school's approval essentially
Okay.
on what you're doing, on your script, on how you're going to do it, on how you're going to film it, how you're going to edit it. And for me, I didn't want that many hands and something that I considered my baby because it was going to take the creativity out of me, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So in return, I wrote a project that was very it was it's film's called Breathe.
Okay.
We haven't started filming it yet. Hopefully, I'll film it within this fall. But it's a very simple story. It takes place in one location, and it's essentially a high school girl is nervous. She has not social anxiety, but she just has regular anxiety, and she's afraid to ask her crush to the prom. It's
Nice.
as simple as that. And the entire film takes place in a high school bathroom, where she is just trying to figure out how she's going to ask her crush out to the prom. Yeah, short film.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like 15-ish minutes,
Do
something like that.
they have a minimum that you guys have to present, or
Um,
or in a maximum? Because somebody could just have a 2-hour film, like, here, this is my thesis. Watch this, and you're like, come on.
I feel like there is a minimum, but I can't. I honestly can't remember. I feel like it's like 5 minutes maybe, and they don't want you to have something that's over like 30 minutes. Um, but I know there's one guy that I knew of. He graduated I think last year, and he did a feature film. So
Okay.
you can do what you want at
You
the end of the day.
got the budget. You got the
Uh,
budget. I mean,
I mean, and honestly, it's smart because I debated briefly doing a feature for my thesis, um, because you're still within the school, so you can get the school's equipment.
yeah,
So essentially, that cuts your budget down significantly. Back, okay, you're right here, right now,
yeah.
but
I gotta
you're prolonging your graduation and you're prolonging um, the other people you're going to be able to bring in from school because people are working on their own thesis or their own final projects or whatnot. So now instead of it being a 2 to 4 day shoot, you're looking at a whole month. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody trying to rent the same equipment and check out the same equipment and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Yeah, so sometimes it is better to just go ahead and do your own thing. And I
Yeah.
mean, it shows the hustle and the grind that you're willing to take when you get into this industry because we all know this is a grind
Yeah.
industry. As you can see, this type of stuff you're doing right now in school alone. I mean, honestly, I mean, so what happens to all this work? What happens to all this work you guys actually do? I mean, I mean, does it go?
In school. So thankfully, SCAD is a school that doesn't technically own your projects when you do them. So there's some schools like
Nice.
I think the
You own your masters.
exactly, yeah. So I'm doing my master's, yeah. So like there's some schools like I think the AFI, American Film Institute, I believe. Schools like that, they don't allow like they own your project. So if I submit it to a festival, they I think they have to approve it. There's some other steps, I believe. But with SCAD, I can do whatever I want. So some people they'll do a project and they do it for the grade and that's it. Well, if it's good enough, submit it to a film festival. Because at the end of the day, even though we only spent a week working on it, from pre-production to post-production, 7 days total, it's better than a good amount of indie people in Atlanta, unfortunately. So it's
Well,
like,
very true. Education is hard to get and to go the right way. At the end of the day, it does not matter when you do it the right way and you go through the educational route. You're taught the right way, so you know what buttons to press, what grips to build, and what lighting to set up and stuff like that. Like that's very, very important. Like I said earlier, I picked up this Mavic Air drone from DJI, but it's something that's going to take me a couple of weeks to learn. I gotta practice and train for the classes to learn
right.
certification. So people understand like there's a lot behind it. People wonder why it's so hard to get a job when you need a certification. I mean, because
Mhm.
you get a certification, take the time out, do the due diligence, and get the certifications you need. Now you're taking all the right steps. So now when you get out of school, you have all this stuff under your belt. But at this point, when it comes to the movie industry right now with the pandemic, do you feel like was it a good thing or a bad thing that you have more time to work on your thesis?
So um, it would have been a good thing if I was working on it.
Oh,
It would have been a good thing. But honestly, in order to pass that pre-production class, you have to come up with the entire. I was supposed to film this in May.
oh
So
wow.
I had the entire production plan drafted up in March, and it was approved in March. We just because of the pandemic haven't been able to film it yet.
Mm.
So if that's been pushed aside, a whole bunch of other projects I was working on got pushed aside, but this has given me an opportunity to hone in on some other skills on my cinematography, on just on life, so I can now sit back and take a moment to just figure out what I want to do, how I want to do it, and potentially the film could be better now because I've grown more since March. So the way I would have directed it back in May, it's probably gonna be different than how I'm gonna end up directing it in October. Just because I've been on other sets, I've seen other projects. I'm gonna end up getting different ideas, different inspirations. I might want to change the film. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so the pandemic is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
On
So are you so literally you're not working on anything right now?
no. I'm working on stuff right now.
Oh, that's good though. So at least you're still moving around and doing what you got to do during the pandemic.
Definitely, yeah. If a filmmaker does not come out of here with a few films under the belt,
That's
I don't
crazy,
know.
right?
Yeah,
Man, we talk about that all the time. Me and my business partner, TOV Digital Media, salute. We say that all the time. This is our time. This is
yep,
our time as techs, as directors, as creators in general to take the bull by its horns and keep it moving. Because
yeah,
I mean, as you can see. there's no limits to where we can talk to each other, see each other. So why not use the platforms
Mhm.
you have at hand? I mean,
Exactly.
that's why my little logo is because it's like this is our time. It's like I
Mhm.
want to know about what's going on. I want to know about everybody's career. How can we help the youth? I mean, what would you tell the kid coming out of high school? Is this a career to just jump into? Is this something that you have to love and be passionate about before you get into? Is it something that you just gotta dip your hand in the pond, foot in the pond, and see if you want to jump in?
I would say you just gotta dip your foot in the pond because, like, honestly, I genuinely had no desire to be a director, had
Wow,
no desire to be a
you got
cinematographer, to be a
skills, girl. So hey,
like, I had zero desire. Like, when I was younger, I just wanted to act. I just wanted to act. I didn't know about, all the other. I think I knew about a director, I knew about a producer, and a writer. That was probably the extent of it. And I didn't have people around me that were, in the film industry. I was just, watching Disney Channel, watching,
yeah,
ABC Family, like,
don't blame me.
living a regular life. And it wasn't until I decided to, just take a different route, just to see where it led me, just so I would have some additional skills, to where I was like, oh, this is actually really interesting. And like, you don't have to, I get bogged down a lot because I'm not the most creative person. I didn't grow up being, super creative. I didn't like to write, draw, like none of that. I just wanted to see myself on the screen.
This was a
But
hidden talent.
what was that?
A hidden talent.
Hopefully, hopefully,
Okay,
hopefully.
hopefully it's good. Listen, you know, let me stop you there because I have my like I told you, my friend's an engineer with 1,500 or nothing. I have a friend who's a rapper who does very well. His podcast is one of the highest viewed on my podcast show. I have a
Mm,
cousin who creates jewelry by hand with resin art. I have a lot of the people. My
mm,
friend was a real estate agent, and you guys are beasts. Like I don't plan on bringing anybody below beast mode on my show, and you guys
mm,
don't own it. I need y'all to start owning it. Like your creativity is dope. Like I mean, let me ask you this question. So, because
mm.
it seems like it's a great thing not to have a big ego, but in certain industries, you have to have a pretty tough ego, such as yourself. Like you're a director, that means you're the boss on set, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so how do you prepare for that? How do you prepare when you're at home? Like, all right, I got to go on set again. I got 15, 20 people around me. I got to tell everybody what to do pretty much. And I got, how do you prepare for that? Such as somebody who's so calm as yourself.
Yeah. For me, it was, I don't think I really grasped at first, the fact that I was, the boss of the set. I was just trying to, because everyone else around me had more knowledge. Because I
Well,
came in the school industry, you know what I mean? So with SCAD, it's such a melting pot of everyone. There's people from corporate America. There's people that have been doing films in undergrad. There's like, you just don't know. I came in fresh. I didn't know anything. So I didn't know anything from like how to work the camera,
okay.
as opposed to just turning it on. I didn't know anything, 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
You learn from scratch.
from scratch. Yeah, completely. I didn't know a single thing.
That that
So
that shows you the amazingness of paying that tuition to go to SCAD.
yeah, so it school was helpful for me
Okay.
because I needed someone to tell me you need to do this right now, and it's due in a week. And then after that week, you need to do this again in 2 more weeks. You know what I mean? And I needed that because I wouldn't have gone up and done it.
You need to
Other
put.
people, there's a lot of independent filmmakers in Atlanta that I know of that are like, in my eyes, they've made it or they're making it. They're like, they're on that little Atlanta pedestal where everyone in the city is like, bro, like you're about to go next level, like you're about to pop. And I'll have discussions with them, and they're like, man, I wish I went to SCAD. I'm looking into going to film school, and I'm like, you're already at the level that I'm trying to be at, and I'm in film school. You don't need to. You're gonna waste over $100,000 to is really the biggest thing that a lot of people say. They wish they had the networking. They wish they did this or had the equipment or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm a resource. I can put you in contact with people. You don't need to waste $100,000 of debt
So the
to
so the advice you give to most people, you would say, is at an age where they're already experienced in the industry is why go back to school? Uh,
yeah. There's no need
People
to.
who are not coming out of high school and are trying to figure out what they want to do, it's a better idea for you to start early, right?
Yeah.
And that's just a personal opinion. I mean,
Yeah. I would say it depends on the person.
gotcha.
Anyone like me, I say go to school. If you're inclined to just do things and just like, you know, put your whole heart into it, and you know that's what you want to do, then like go for that. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you can't pick up a camera, and you can eventually you will figure out how to make a film. And
Oh yeah,
there's enough resources online. There's enough resources in the community to where it's like
the I call it the University of Youth.
Yep. There's a whole bunch of those. So it's like just get out there and do it. But the difference is I didn't know this is what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I was going to film school to be an actor producer. That's what I was trying to do.
And then
And
how did you find the directing love? Like, where did that come?
oh, I had to direct first classes. We'd you know be in a film class, and you have to turn in a film within 2 weeks. So, all right, I don't know anyone here. I guess I'm gonna have to direct it. I'm gonna need to write it. You know, I'm gonna need to write it tonight. I'm gonna need to pick out the actors. I'm gonna need to direct it. And then the more and more I did that, which was all because of class assignments, the more and more people were like, oh, "Okay, yeah, she directs. And I'm
Hey, that's the director. She's like, nah, I'm the
like,
actor. Nah.
right, I guess.
What up,
You
boss
know,
lady?
right. So it's like it, which is why it was so kind of confusing to me because I didn't know what was really going on. And then you know, back to your other point of like being the boss of you know X amount of people for that the project I sent you today that you saw the trailer for.
Yeah.
We had a crew of I think 40 to 50 people,
Wow.
and generally on my sets I only have 10 people on my sets because I don't know what to do with all these people. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because it's normally just me. So with that experience,
Yeah, how you handled it?
I was extremely nervous. I was like this, you know, it was funded through the school. I think we had a budget of like I think $10,000 or something. Funded through the school was the only. It had to run through, you know, professors, the chair of the program, the chair of the top program, and then you know all of these people it essentially are judging you and your creativity. So you have to do the best that you can to you know whether it's to top the one that they did in Savannah or it's to top the one that someone did at UCLA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're trying to make a name for yourself while also trying to learn. So it's definitely a lot to think about, but it was a huge learning curve to be on a set that big. That was also my first time being on a set that big,
Okay.
and I was running it, quote unquote. You know what I mean? But I had a lot of
No,
people
no. You were
help.
running.
A lot of help. So
I mean, that's good though. Help is very good. I mean, we always need a Mr. Miyagi all the time. You know, everybody needs a guru. Everybody needs somebody to guide them. I don't care who you are. Even the top, you know, even the people on the top need somebody to guide them. They didn't get that's why we call it advisors and stuff like that. So it's good to have help. I mean, a lot of people with a big ego, they don't think they need help, but I mean, we never shy away help or learning something new or something like that. Like why that you got to be like a sponge. You got to soak everything in, stuff like that. So
definitely.
let's get into the project, the newest project. And tell me about it.
So the one with the trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that project's called What Remains of Emily. It was a SCAD
I like it.
project. There was, I want to say, over 100 students that you know worked on it in some
Okay,
capacity. Over, I forget the numbers that they keep mentioning, but you know, over let's say 10 plus different degrees, whether that's
nice,
film, whether that's fashion, whether that's marketing, you know, things like that. And I was selected to direct it.
nice.
I
Out of
know,
how many
yeah.
people? And a lot
What
of
was
directors. A lot of directors in your school.
um probably the thing about SCAD is that a lot of people do a lot of things.
Okay,
So I would say probably almost anyone in the film program directs. Their passion might be in producing, but the way they groom us to be able to work in any capacity.
so then
Um,
so then what was that experience like? What that feeling when you? How did you find out? First of all, was it a text? Was it an
no,
email?
I was actually also auditioning for it. So you could apply to direct, produce, be the cinematographer. So I applied to direct or be the cinematographer or act. I was like, in some capacity, I'm gonna get in this because I actually
I'm getting
applied to get
somewhere.
so I was like, you know,
Don't open
um,
that door for me. It's over.
so I actually so we had to submit, and then I went through the first round of auditions, got a call back, and then I was waiting for the second audition to come around. I was actually rehearsing for the second audition, and then the chair of the program came into the room I was in, and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just running lines." And he was like, "All right, stop that. You're directing it." And I was like,
That's not your job no more. You tell
"All
somebody.
right, yeah."
And it's just real. I mean, it's just real. I mean, you earned that. Congratulations, you definitely earned that. I mean, you put in the work. I mean, obviously, I mean, that's not somebody just pick you out of the. Let me see. No, you earned that. Like you put your work in. So own that. I mean, the director. I mean, that's dope. I mean, come on, because I'm gonna tell you right now. Me watching the trailer, and literally, you sent me the trailer like an hour or two ago. Like it's clean. I like it. I like the idea behind it because I told you I'm a movie head, such as yourself. So it's clean. It gives me a you know, first in the beginning, I'm like, okay, so this is like a let me tell you my experience of the trailer in the beginning.
Yeah,
Like a private school movie. I'm like, okay, it's a love story. And then I'm like, oh wait, hold on. Pump the brakes. This is sci-fi, yo. And I'm like, and then I love future stuff. Back to the Future was one of my like, you know, favorite. You know what I mean? Like because we're talking about Simpsons predicting stuff, Back to the Future, stuff that's happening,
yeah,
what's happening now. A
yeah,
lot of predictions. So I'm a big weirdo like that. I mean, I guess you can call me a slight conspiracy theorist, but not somebody who thinks 5G's in my mask not right now, none of that stuff. But
yeah.
you know, just like on the predicting and stuff like. So I think that so when that started coming up, and I'm like, oh, that's dope. Like, and then I'm like, I'm looking at all these actors and stuff like. I'm like, they got potential. This is good. Like, this looks very, very, very good. I can't wait. Is this something that's gonna be out there for us to watch, or
So,
or
they're
gonna hook
putting
your
it
brother up? You know what I mean? You're gonna send me the
right.
link.
They're putting it through the film festival circuit, so it
Nah,
won't officially be online until I don't know, maybe a year or so. I'm not exactly sure how that process is. My hope is that we'll have some sort of premiere, hopefully an in-person premiere, because I just feel like all of us that worked on it deserve to see it with each other. When it actually.
and just know you're gonna have a camera crew with you, provided by
Yeah,
us.
wonderful.
We gotta get down. That's gonna be dope. That's gonna be a great experience. That's dope.
Yeah.
How
So
does it?
we'll.
How does it feel? How does it feel? You know, when stuff like that, like projects like that, how does it feel that you have to wait so long for something to come out? Like, is that stressful?
Um, yeah. It is if I wasn't working on other things, and
Okay.
if that was the sole thing that was in my head, and I probably be thinking about it. The grateful thing is that since this is a class assignment, essentially, just a heightened class assignment, I'm a part of the editing process. So I'm looking at the final edits. I actually have to comment on them today,
Uh,
so that it can move on to like post sound and coloring, so that we're trying to have it completed, I believe, by September, so that we have our own copy and that they can send it out to festivals, I'm assuming. But thankfully, I'm working on so many other projects to where I'm not even thinking about this.
so
So I'm hoping to get to a place where everything that I'm doing right now during COVID, it's helping me build, helping me grow, so that when that project comes out, because that is hands down the best project I have done thus far,
uh,
um, I don't want to downgrade from that.
you
You know
can't.
what
Like in
exactly.
the
It's
industry, we expect more. We get hungry. You know, if what's his name, Jordan Peele.
Yep,
I mean, after his first movie, if he came out with something weak, we were like, "Yo, my
yep,
man, like, he just can't. You
yep.
guys can't. You guys, we look up to it. I mean, that's our only source of entertainment outside of what's going on in this world. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
it's some good movies. I mean, sports is it went to craps already too. So literally, people are looking for podcasts. People are looking for movies. People are looking for short films and stuff like that. Like people want to be entertained right now because they're sitting at home depressed. Let me ask you this question: do you ever plan on doing like a pandemic type, sci-fi type movie or anything? You know, a bunch of like, a virus, some zombie-ish. Are you into that type of stuff, like the sci-fi gory stuff like that?
Um, I am to a degree, mostly because I don't watch a lot of it. I do like The Walking Dead.
Oh, I'm not a
Uh,
fan.
I do like, there was a show called The Dome.
Yes,
I don't know if yeah, it's
yes.
called The Dome.
And
I
everybody
like kind of stuff,
and that little
yeah,
kid.
where there's different things like that, or there's another show on Netflix where like all the adults disappear in the town, and
Oh, right.
things like that.
Yes. Alone, I think.
Where like they're very interesting. What was that?
I think it was like Alone or something. I know you're talking about. Like everybody
Yeah.
disappeared. Another sci-fi. So you're not
Hmm.
into the gory stuff, but you're into the more of the sci. Stuff we're into, like we said, Black Mirror.
Yeah.
I got.
So yeah. probably if I was to, there's a lot of films that I have yet to watch, because I was not into films prior to, 2 years ago. But so I need to go back and watch like the Alien stuff and
Is
Star
that
Trek.
deep? Hold on. Pump the brake.
No,
Is that
I
deep?
know. What
Yo,
was that?
it's deep. This is deep because I'm trying to tell you that that you're a beast, and the fact that you didn't even watch some of the greatest movies out there when it comes to the graphics and the how you call it, the effects of movies and stuff like that. Like you're already doing your thing right now. So that you just I mean, but you're good at what you do. So what happens when you do have the time during this pandemic to watch all these movies? Oh my God, that's
I
like
know, right? Yeah.
that's like, oh man, because so you're pretty much saying that you haven't even discovered the limitations of what you can do in this industry.
Yeah, without a doubt. I just watched Prison Song for the first time, like 2 days ago. For the first time. I happened to stumble upon it and I was like, let me just see it. And I was like, oh, this is great. This
Let me
is
ask you that. Do you ever plan on how about that? How about that industry getting into like let's talk about like the Django's and the slave type movies and the
Mhm.
the what's going on this with the racial injustice movies, like stuff like that. Do you ever plan on getting into the political type stuff? You know what I mean?
So there's a project I plan on writing. I just have yet to do it because I hate writing. But there's a project I want to write where it's half political, half Black Mirror, in the sense of I was going to call it The Watchers,
Okay.
and it was going to be half Black Mirror, half political, half Moonlight. Or
Oh,
so it was supposed to star
are you trying to
uh,
get Oscars?
like that. I feel like once I finally write that and film that, that'll be that'll be my first passion
That's dope.
project.
That's dope.
It's supposed to be about this little boy. He's 12 to 13, and essentially they're in this society where once a boy hits puberty, so let's say that's at 13, he will have some sort of celebration, almost like a bar mitzvah,
Okay.
where like a coming of age, like a quinceañera, where
Above me.
now you're a man.
Yeah.
So with becoming a man, with becoming a Black man in society, there are different things you need to worry about. Whether that's police brutality, you're going to be thought of as an adult. All these different just things in society that kids have to worry about. Unfortunately, in America, and within that, he's hanging out with one of his friends. There's going to be a slight touch on male sexuality at a young age, as well as he'll end up witnessing a crime, and um, from that it almost kills him by
Mm.
him doing this. So
Look at me.
it'll
I'm staring at the screen like, okay, tell me more. Like,
I'm still trying to like figure out everything, but the Watchers are essentially the police, but not really the police. But
right.
they're watching you. Everyone, like, you're in a society with phones, with
Vote
cameras.
guys, yeah.
So
People
trying to
don't
work.
understand the severity of how different it is now compared to like literally 10 years ago. There's eyes everywhere. My cousin-in-law, he's actually a book writer as well, and he's writing a book called The Path. And literally, he started writing this book a while ago, and literally everything's happening. It's nuts, and it's a sci-fi type movie.
Mm,
The Path is pretty much, not to give too much away because he just finished it. We're gonna have a podcast about it, but it's kind of like you're put on this path now. After the world is pretty much done, they had to restructure everything, and now you're on a path, and you literally have to take this path, and you have an AI, like a friend with you, so he's like your assistant, and
mm.
he tells you what you can and can't do. You're off the path. You got to do this, do that, do that. You can turn them off and stuff, and then there's rebels and stuff like that where there's no signal in that area, and it has to do with a lot of
So
that.
interesting.
And the first Hispanic president, female, so it's pretty dope. And because
Mm.
he got a lot of great ideas, and I told him eventually you got to turn that into a movie. I'm gonna
Oh
leave
yeah,
because
oh yeah, that sounds
that
great.
something dope to turn into a movie.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot more of those like sci-fi type shows and movies out there than we realize. So
yeah,
especially
manifest.
international. There's a lot of them, like German ones, like if you just start scrolling.
I'm a big head on. So one thing I love about Netflix is that they give you the opportunity to see a lot of stuff. Like everybody
Yeah.
likes Orange Is the New Black, but I love Wentworth. Like a lot of people don't know the diff. Like Wentworth is Australian, and
Okay.
their prisons are way crazier, and it's like
Yeah.
dope show. Me and my wife literally watch every freaking
Okay.
seasons. There's a lot of shows like the 100. I believe a lot of them they're in the 100 are from
Or Australian. Yep.
yeah, I believe too. So
Hmm.
man, that's my show right there. Like
Yeah.
because here behind that, people in the sky, people on the tree, people like God
Yeah.
creating your own world again, pretty much right from scratch. Like and just seeing the redevelopment of man and woman again, and
Mhm.
the strength in women.
Yeah.
Nobody realizes in that show how much strength they show in women.
Yeah.
Who the bosses in that show are all women.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I'm a big feminist, so you always notice that. Like I always big up women because you guys are the strongest being on the face of this earth. So I don't know. Do you see a lot of women getting into this industry as directors, or is it men mostly? Or
Um, it's definitely still male dominated. But there are a huge number of men like yourself that are trying to elevate women.
definitely. And so
There,
my question is it so was it hard for you to get the overall question I was trying to ask you earlier is being a director and being a boss is was it hard to get that respect right away? Is it something that you had to use humor? Are you a humorous person when it comes to that? Like how do you demand your respect? Are you the type of person to say, yo, we could be friends, but when I ask you to do something, do it? Or how do you because that's something people need to understand. That's a class in itself to teach somebody how to be a leader, how to be a boss.
yeah. So that's honestly something that I'm still working on.
Like
I
honesty.
don't think I've had to, I don't think I've had to be in a position where I've had to tell someone like, look, like I said this, like I need you to do it. I don't think I've necessarily been in that position quite yet. I'm sure at some point it definitely will.
Okay.
But I've just been fortunate enough to be in the rooms with men that they're not separatists. They're not, on their high horse. They're not
They have
doing
the
something.
same vision.
Yeah, I think the most that probably happens is men trying to mansplain something, and it's like I understand why you're doing it, but we have more knowledge than you realize. Like we'll ask you something if just because I ask you a question doesn't mean I need you to explain everything else. I
Mm.
just have to know that one thing,
Yeah,
you know.
like yes or no's always turn into open ended.
Uh huh.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
like, where did you put it? On the table or on the chair? Well, I put it on the table, but it was original. No, just where did you put
yeah.
it?
Right. Exactly.
But the
So
benefit for you is that you get to work with a lot of people you know right now, right?
correct. Yeah. For the most part, I do. So like even the project Auntie that was nominated for the Black Film Festival. That project was spearheaded by Bobby Huntley, great Atlanta filmmaker, and I realized he was about to make another project. I hit him up, and I was like, "Yo, like I want to be a part of this."
Like that. You just hit the line, like what you DM'd
Well,
him.
we had already had prior conversations about
Okay,
working
that's
together,
awesome.
so it wasn't just very random. It wasn't anything like that, but it
I
was
mean,
close enough.
I
I already
do
knew
it
this.
honestly to show people that you are like. I keep on telling you, like I do it to show people that you are connected. Like uh, people do see the greatness in your talent because yesterday I was at a gym with my business partner and Tiffany Hayes, a basketball player, was right next to me. Like she comes up to us, talks to us or
Mm,
whatever, and it's so organic when you speak to people, who are they're celebrities in a sense,
yeah,
and you treat them like regular people and they treat you like regular people, and you're like, this is nothing. Like we're just So the fact you're like I hit them up, people need to understand that you work for that. You put that
yeah.
work into that. It's not like you say, "Hey, I just work on something. Here's my number." That don't happen.
Mm-mm.
So
No.
that's awesome. So all right. So did you get picked up for it? Did you work with them or?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I hit him up about it. He was like, "All right, you can come in and help produce." And I was like, "Shoot, all right." And then from that, I was one of the producers. And then the first day of set, our DP didn't show up. Our cinematographer, he couldn't make it for whatever reason. And I happened to have just finished my cinematography class. Was not a cinematographer at that point. Knew a little bit, but the girl that was directing it, she was like, just DP it, at least for today, just DP it. And I was like, okay. So that was the first. I ended up, DPing the entire. I was a cinematographer for the entire project,
Were you
as
comfortable?
well as producing. What was that?
Were you comfortable or nervous?
Very nervous, very nervous. I knew it would definitely open a lot of doors. And I knew I didn't want to mess up because
Right.
everyone was like great talents. We were doing something very ambitious with that project, so I wasn't a cinematographer at that point, but I had people that believed me and that pushed me towards it. And Kobe Frey, who was the director of that project, was she's a cinematographer as well. But she happened to be the director for that project, and she was like, "I'm gonna make sure that you're a DP after this." And I was like, "I don't think I will be." And look at us now. So,
Look at
um,
that. No, that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Because I've, like I told you, I followed you since we were on my Uber, and I'm like, man,
hmm
she's working, man. Like I've seen, like you're working, you're staying out there, you're staying relevant. The one thing I tell a lot of people in about Atlanta is that once you're out here, once you get to the right networking events, people network out here. You could rub the right elbows,
yeah,
literally at the right events. You can come to an event and literally meet some of the
yeah,
photographers you never met in your life. I know
yeah.
some people who know Killer Mike's, like my business partner.
hmm
People know Killer Mike's photographer and stuff like that. So
Right.
like you meet the people in these events, and you're like, wow, I just paid $20 to get in here. Like, like
Yeah, you never know. You
you never
never
know.
like,
Especially my Uber. I mean, come on. I'm like,
and people are so
hey,
nonchalant in Georgia. Like
that's
they'll like you'll never know. So it's like if you're just a genuine person, that can get you much further than you trying to.
That's good. That's good because
Yeah,
up north is a dog eat dog world. I mean, don't get it twisted. Like you said, it's definitely a dog eat dog world out here. They just do it different. I
yeah,
think if you put in the right work and take the right footsteps, that you can create your own lane out here and be with the right community of people who anytime you got a project going, they're hitting you up like, hey, what do you need me to do? My, you know what I'm saying? Can I jump
yeah,
on? And that's important to me that you have people who want to be involved in your projects instead of you searching for so many people because that's a
yeah.
task in itself having to search for the whole crew. And it's better when you got people DMing you like, yo, what you got
Yeah.
working on, and how can
Especially people who don't no money. You know,
especially
and like all my projects, I don't have money. You know what I mean? It might, like I might be filming stuff. I might be with expensive equipment, but half the time that's from school or that's something that For instance, me and three friends, we bought a camera.
nice
We bought like a bigger cinema camera so that we could, we didn't
expensive
have to go to school. Yeah,
expensive.
yeah. So like, you know, um, I feel like a big issue is that a lot of people, like you said before, will either just pick up a camera and then start charging up the butt for for their work or whatnot, and it's like nobody has this money. Somebody might have this money. Corporate America might have this money. I don't have this money. I'm not gonna ask you to pay that money, but it's a balance of not overcharging people, just to just because I feel like that's really what it is half the time, just because, and not underselling what you can do. Because I know I do that a lot because I'm just hungry to just work, just to meet people. So yeah,
I've been in sales my whole entire life. I've been a store manager in jewelry. I've been in all types of sales. And every single seminar you go to, the first thing they say is what? Don't undersell yourself, oversell
yeah,
yourself. And then you learn later on in life that all depends on what industry you're in. Because
yeah,
our industry, I'm not going to your set be like, hey, I fly my drone over your head for 270 an hour. You know,
yeah,
you dog. Like, all right,
yeah,
I get go get intern right now who was hungry in school right now who just got his Part 107 through the school and has been flying for a while. So yeah, it's something that I literally had to sit down and be like, how I'm gonna make my pricing for drones, especially because I'm a new operator and that's just the honesty. And I do, we do great work with what we do. But that's not the point. Like you said, it takes a portfolio, it takes time, it takes work, it takes
yeah,
training, it takes you not having a big ego to learn from people.
yeah,
I put my drone up literally as a test thing, and I had somebody hit me up, one of my close friends, like, "Hey, you want to fly my $2,300 drone?" I'm like, "I haven't flew it."
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know us.
people
That's like a toy to
more
us.
than you realize. A
Yeah, like
lot, like some people are not, and it's just a matter of finding that because there's a set I'm on. I was on last weekend. I'm on this weekend, and um, this guy Franco. He's a cinematographer in Atlanta, and when I first met him, he was doing sound, and I was doing cinematography for a project. We're just talking, casually, and he's like, actually, I do sound because I can, but I'm a cinematographer.
okay,
I just happen to be doing sound for this. And I was like, oh, okay. A couple months later, come to find out he's going to be my cinematographer for a project that I'm working on.
nice,
So I'm right below him.
nice.
And, there's no diss to my ego. There's no nothing because I know he has more talent than me. and I know I'm going to learn from him.
Right.
And because everything's so genuine within that relationship between him and I, you know, the day we saw each other again after a few months, he was like, "Yo, um, have you worked on like with a red camera, which is, you know, this $20,000-$30,000 camera that I haven't been able to work with, but you know, all the big projects use them." And he was like, "I have it because I'm working on a Netflix project. You know, you can come by, I'll let you, you know, work with it so you can understand the settings." And I'm like,
We had that red cam.
"Yeah." And I was like,
Look, you
"Woo."
see that? I said we had that red cam. Like that's my bit, David. When he already know the man behind the curtain is TOV Digital Media. He already know that's a dream for everybody is to have that red cam. That literally you could post it on your Instagram and people be hitting your DM you never met in your life. Like, yo,
Yep.
can I rent it? Like,
Right,
I'm gonna shoot a
right.
couple scenes. Like, and I heard people were paying. Like, when you got that camera,
Yeah.
that's big time.
Hmm. So yeah,
So
you
so
just
you had a chance. You had a chance to work with the rec.
no, not yet, not yet. He hopefully will
Woo!
with this project this weekend. So hopefully, you know, within the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to, you know, use it some so that I can at least have knowledge of it because
Yeah.
you know, I would hate to be on a set where I get hired to do something and they're like, all right, we're going to use this camera, but I've never used
You're like, oh, not that one.
it. Right. Oh, like, thank you, but no, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't want to be in that position, you know? So,
Uh, and that's what I like about you is that, you'll jump not knowing there's net because that's the only way you can know is if you jump and see if there's a safety net there. But I noticed that you take those risks and they end up, paying off. That's a good thing because a lot of people are not risk takers in this industry. And right now, I think that that's the most important thing. Is you kind of got to take risks because I don't think you know the grass is greener on the other side all the time. It could be a big budget project, but it could be the worst project you ever worked on in your life, the
yep,
meanest people and people not listening to you. So it's I don't know how do you feel that out? Is that something that I guess that is a good question. Is that something that you can tell right away when you get a director's position? Are you picking from beginning to end who is or is there somebody who literally searches for talent, searches for everybody to literally do photography, setups, all that, or do you
so
hands on all of that?
generally with my own projects, I do just because I'm at a smaller scale. But for instance, the pilot that you saw and anything in that similar format, what will happen is the producers, let's say you're working at a network, let's say like Universal. Universal's like, all right, we have a film, we have a script. They're gonna pick a director more than likely, and then from there, the director might, you know, they might have some stipulations where they're like, well, I want this cinematographer, or I want, you know, you can kind of make your first picks, but from there, you know, the cinematographer might have a whole staff under him or her. They're gonna have their first and second assistant camera. They're gonna have they might pick their best gaffer, you know, so it's all everything in this industry is networking. Everything in this industry is who you know. So, you know, working on these smaller budget things, you don't know who they know or what their next opportunity is.
And
And
that's
because
right.
they like the way you handle business, they might pull you into something else. You know
That's
what I mean? So it's better to be nicer to everyone, even if they're, you know, even if they are the PA, because you said you're doing a PA for something, but you have this podcast. There's no telling who you could bring on this show. There's no telling.
when she got on the phone with me. To be honest with you, when she got on the phone with me, it was actually a Craigslist ad, and I said, you know what? Let me indulge. I've gotten plenty good gigs off of Craigslist sometimes, so you gotta just weave them out, and you gotta really how you screen them. And when I
Yeah,
did call, and I always pull cards and say, let me get your IG, let me get everything, see if you're legit. The contracting was legit, everything was good.
mm,
And when I spoke to her though, that's where I got the good feel. I got the director feel. I got the
yeah,
writer. I'm the boss. I'm trying to get everything together. What can you bring to the table? And this is deferred payments and all that stuff when the project is
yeah,
done and picked up. And I'm like, okay, I know about these things before. You know what I mean? I know this
right,
industry is a rough industry. A lot of people work and work and work, and they don't get paid till later because it has to be picked up or finished complete project by the network. And then so she has a pretty good budget. I'll tell you that because they're pretty good. But the thing is I'm noticing that it's family oriented. There's a lot of people she knows and works with already. I watched a
yeah,
lot of like, oh, okay, they work for it's LGBTQ. It's
mm,
in that sense of things. I think that's the most I can say. But it looks very clean. It looks like they know what they're doing.
mm,
They have grips, they have lighting, they have a lot of things that you would see like, yeah, okay, they have good cameras, they have so
right,
have it together. They have mics, you know, overhead mics and stuff like that. So you're noticing like, okay, they know what they're doing. And then I started doing my due diligence on her, and I'm like, oh, okay, so she's been doing this. This is something. This is not something new for her. And I'm like, okay, and like you like I was just asking you. That's why I asked you, because she's like you. She has her hands on everything. So she's literally picking the
Mhm.
phone number you're getting on Craigslist is her cell phone, and it's like
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
on the road, and I could hear the car driving. I'm like, okay, this girl's
right.
hustling.
Yeah.
That's why I said I love your hustle and your grind, because that's the same thing I see in a lot of you guys. Like, you know, you guys out here in Atlanta hustling, hustling. It's
Yeah.
it might be easy to live in Atlanta, but people don't realize in the last 10 years that has been out the window for 10 years now. It is getting rough out here. It's getting expensive.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, in Buckhead, there's new skyscrapers going up that are starting at $1.2 million, and that's just a fact. I know I used to drive Uber for a very long time, so I've watched these things
Mhm.
grow. And it's like, you know, out here, if you do the right things, though, you can grow the right way, and you can set yourself up where you're good. Like literally, I've seen people grow in the last 10 years I've been here to bigger studios and bigger
Yeah.
equipment, bigger staffs and stuff like that. What do you see yourself in 5 years? I mean,
Oof.
how about let's go 1 year? How about this? Yeah, because it's really rough right now with the pandemic. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself after the pandemic? Where do you see yourself going? What do you want to do after school?
Um, that I'm honestly still not sure about. For me, everything's changed year by year. And since I am so young, it's like, what I wanted to do 2 years ago was act. What I wanted to do a year ago was maybe direct.
That's amazing.
You know what I'm what I want to do now, I'm like, okay, so I now feel comfortable saying, okay, I'm a director.
Okay.
Okay, I'm a cinematographer. But this is after, you know, after I've directed, 10 plus projects. This is after I've DP'd, in nearly the same amount. So it honestly, I don't know. I probably within 5 years, hopefully, have a production company that's successful. Become not necessarily a household name, but where people, I'm at least a trusted name to where within 5 years, any project someone throws my way, I want to be able to feel comfortable, no matter what it is. Within 5 years. I'm a little more comfortable with stuff now, but it's like, I've directed short films. Those are fine. I know how to talk to actors with that. But now I'm trying to step into the music video industry because I love music and I want to make music videos that tell a story, not just like taken and
We're gonna talk.
yeah,
I got some
definitely.
you in with definitely. That's
Okay.
big. A lot of people hit us up all the time, me and David, and say, "Yo, you guys do music videos?" And we really don't.
Hmm.
Not because we don't want to. We just really don't. I mean, maybe that could be a good collaboration project in the future, because I'm
Definitely,
telling you right now,
definitely.
a lot of people who hit me up for the music videos all day.
Hmm.
And these rappers out here are paying. They're paying for these music.
Yeah,
Like,
they are. Yeah, yeah,
I have no. That's another thing I can say. Let me just get that out there. In Atlanta, there's a lot of people who do want to join your crew and who do want to take the ride with you. And there's a lot of people who do want people to. And this is not me and you, because the people who we bring in, we actually educate and teach the craft to. But there's a lot of people who meet me as a photographer and say, "Hey, jump on my crew," and it's not for growth. It's literally for selfishness. And now I've noticed that if you weed the right people out, then you notice that there's a lot of people who do want to help each other here in Atlanta. There's a lot of networking going out here, a lot
yeah.
of networking. And if you meet, like we said, you meet the right people and you just do the right things out here, man. Hustle and grind. You can make it. You can make
Yeah.
it out here, and it's the
Yeah.
industry, the new Hollywood.
You never know. Like, I know these guys. Their production company is Neighborhood Rejects, right? So I worked on another project with them. They do music videos a lot. I noticed they were actually one of them came to my set and he was like, "Yeah, we have a video we're filming next week. You should come through." I was like, "All right, bet. I want to come through." I haven't been on a bigger set like that for a music video. Like, this is gonna be great. So I go out there and I'm like, "Hey, you mind if I take some BTS? Like, I'm trying to get into photography a little bit so that at least photography. That's it. I had a whole epiphany, man. One day I had a
A
whole
big smile on your face. So put
yeah. I,
on.
I was like, for let's say I tell people my day rate for cinematography is $250 a day. That's, 12 hours of work. That's, all this pre-production, probably some post-production. I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? I'm in a position where I don't need that money to survive currently, thankfully. So
Trying to build your hours.
exactly.
We all know
So,
about it.
right. So I'm like, all right, but like, is that too much? I don't know. And then I was thinking, photographers, they be out here charging 200 and something dollars for an hour.
Yo,
And you get 3 pictures back.
I was about to say right now, 3 shots, 1 edit,
And that's it. And I was like, wow.
watermark.
Well, I was like, what am I
Actually, get the watermark off. Like, yo, can I get your signature one? Yeah, that's gonna cost you another $70 to take my watermark off. Like, for real? Yeah,
right? And I was like, wow, they really out here. And
I
it's the same thing, just shorter amount of work, shorter
yeah.
period of time, less work. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I gotta do.
I know that.
Yup. And I
It,
was like, wow, I gotta get in this. I have got to get into this. So that was the first.
ah!
I was like, hold on.
You're a hustler for real. I'm like, she's like, no, I gotta get into this. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So I went out there. I brought my camera. Never done photography before. And I asked maybe him, and there was another BTS photographer there. I asked, thankfully, no one was being like stingy with information or, nothing crazy like that. And they broke it down real quick. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna just do my best. And the pictures came out fire. Everyone liked them. And it led to uh, another gig, a photography gig right after that. And then another one right after that. And that was just from me popping up
You're a
somewhere.
photographer now.
Yeah, now I'm a photographer.
Oh, did you get a camera?
You know what I mean? So like I'm trying to grow, but
So now you gotta
from
buy
that,
a camera.
exactly, yeah. And like so, from that being there at that production, um, I'm meeting other people and I'm talking to other people. And since I'm now associated with them, I can now hit up someone else. There's the other group there. They're called Open Season. I hit them up and was like, hey, and they do music videos for like Dreamville, the Dreamville team, and people like that. So I was like, I hit them up, and I do this very frequently. I see, a cinematographer, director, or whatnot. I'll hit them up on Instagram, be like, hey, I really like your work. I'd love for us to collab at some point. Or if they're above me, I'll be like, hey, I really like your work. I'm trying to grow. Is there any way I can shadow you, or if I can just PA, or if I can just, you could just talk to me. And half the times they don't respond, but sometimes they do.
I was about to
And
say,
that day I messaged them, they hit me up and was like, yeah, pull up to the shoot. Okay. You know what I mean? Sure.
you pulled your car, you pulled it right
there. All right. And that happens very frequently.
Oh,
So,
wow.
that might not necessarily lead me to a job with them, but I have more people on my radar. So when something comes up, because at the end of the day, these other production companies are all male, which is fine because that's, they're with their crew. But there could be a day where someone's like, well, I want a female director, which happened, which happened. I want a female director. I want a female cinematographer. Okay. So what are they going to do? They're going to look for the people that they already know that's already on their radar.
Hey,
and there's
1 second. Let me call my real quick. Hold on. Hey, I got some work.
Right.
Done.
Exactly. Not saying that will happen, but there's endless possibilities, and just being able to discuss with people that are above you and learn the knowledge that they know, that helps more than a school. That helps more than, to me, than anything.
Oh, people don't understand. Like, to me, and this is not bashing any school in the world, but school is entry level. It's to teach you the beginnings. Where you learn your stuff is on the field, hands on, literally again, because school's like a bumper. Sometimes they don't teach you what's gonna go wrong on the field, so you have to learn. You got to come out with a crappy project and be like, man, that's horrible. My visual on this was horrible, but that's how you learn.
Yep. And I'd say one of the biggest issues with going to like a big expensive school is that you'll have all this nice equipment, but guess what? When you don't have that expensive equipment, now what do you do? Because you're not going to have the budget to afford it. Yep. And then now when you're out there with, with your DSLR or with, whatever you got, or with your iPhone or whatever, okay, you can in theory make the same type of projects. But if you only know how to work with all this expensive stuff, you're not going to know how to morph the light in the actual room. You're not going to know what to do with these low lights, to bring up, different levels in people's faces or whatever, and I feel like that's probably what's setting me apart from other people that I go to school with.
I mean,
Because since I'm in the school circuit, I'm also in the indie field with other Atlanta people. So I have a lot more connections than a lot of other people. Not to say anything bad about them, but I know that it doesn't just end with school.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you could be like you said when it comes to expensive equipment, like just the setups in our rooms before we do a podcast. I had like last few podcasts, we have to figure out lighting in the room itself.
Yeah.
The dim light above me, like, what position in my room, what wall should I have behind me, what props you should have
Yeah.
pictures, everything. Like, people don't understand, like, everything counts in a picture, especially imagery. So if you have a red cam compared to a DSLR where, first of all, storage and then the quality of the picture taken. A lot of cameras,
Yeah.
they shoot 4K. A lot of cameras, they go above it. People understand, like, there is more out there. You just have to have money. All right,
Yeah.
this is not where it stops. You just have to have
Yeah.
money beyond it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
And then even I've been on sets with red cameras, and the footage was awful. And I was like, and that was an eye opener for me because I was like, well,
yeah,
dang, if y'all
it's all about who's using it, right? It's all about who's
exactly
controlling.
who's shooting
I've
it,
learned, I've learned that when I picked up a camera, when I actually got a Canon and I got into the DSLR life, and I started showing, I'm like, yo, I'm horrible, but I love it. I have an eye for things,
yeah,
but it's just the difference where, when you take a picture and you notice that you don't have to touch it at all. When my raw shots, I post them online and people love them. I love that more than when something I cleaned up and touched for a client because
yeah, 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 definitely,
or whatever. But when I get a raw shot, that when you get a raw shot, you're like, whoa, that looks fire.
yeah,
And you sitting there like, there's nothing I gotta touch, and it's done.
yeah. I did for that music video. I didn't edit them because I was like, "There's 500 pictures here. I'm not
Yeah,
about to edit them."
first of
If
all,
and then people. That's the main thing, especially with like if you're doing pictures for like events or anything. Like people are already going to re-edit your picture
yes, most
because I
definitely.
know I've re-edit pictures that people send me because everyone has their own personal aesthetic or whatever.
Yeah, that's,
So
that
you
comes with,
know,
and that's a client, customer client, what I mean, type of thing. Like, people gotta be very forward in what they want to do with the pictures in the beginning because that see, a lot of people don't understand as a photographer that lets us know what settings we want to shoot in.
yeah,
I'm not gonna shoot in high gloss settings. I'm not gonna bring the light up a lot because I know you're gonna play with it. So, or vice versa. Yeah, I know you want to bring it up a little more, so I'll leave it a little lower and saying, like, what is your idea? What I mean, it's just the same way as an artist. You have to mold that project in your head, and we have ideas ourselves. But if a client, that's the difference between having your own ideas and working for a client. Clients have their ideas, and they're paying, so it's their
yeah.
idea.
A lot of people can't wrap their head around that. Some people, they're so creative to where they can't be put in a situation where somebody else's vision needs to come through before your own.
I knew a
You know,
chef. I knew a chef before who would really get mad if you asked him to get a knife to cut his sandwiches in half because he thought a
huh?
sandwich
Yeah,
was full. And I'm like, well, I want to eat half of it. And
yep,
I mean, this is one of my mom's chefs. She owns a restaurant. It's one of her old chefs. Like, he used to be peed off. Like, yeah, whatever, you cut it. Like, and send a knife out. I'm like, bro, cut my sandwich. And he's not understanding. It's the principle. It's the concept behind. I'm the customer paying. Cut my
yeah,
sandwich. Beautiful sandwich, but it's still gonna be beautiful. It's
yeah,
going the same. So
yeah,
yeah,
yep, yep.
that's a hard thing. So in wrapping up, usually I do this. I ask you what you got going on new, but we spoke about your new project. Anything else the people should know, the fans should know that you got coming up in the future, or should we just have to wait till after the pandemic and what we got going?
Um, I will say this: there's a production company that me and my friend started. I have my own. Well, individually we have our own, and then we have one, together called Something Serious. So we do a lot of projects. Currently, we're trying to focus on things to set us apart. For instance, one girl, Fennell, she's a poet, spoken word poet. So we've been doing what she calls poetisodes. So we have 4 of those out currently, and it's essentially a music video for poetry.
Okay,
Um, so she's
so
putting visuals to poets to their work, so that they just can express it in a different medium. So we have a lot of those that are out that people can check out, that people can I feel like poets don't get enough
I
respect.
love poetry.
Yeah, like that. It
Music
because
is poetry. Music, I mean, poetry is everything. Everything comes from poetry. Everybody always quotes Maya Angelou for everything. Like it doesn't
uh
matter, right? Who you telling? Like poetry's everything. You just gave me the chills because everybody don't understand. Like I used to love deaf comedy, the poetry they used to do that. What? It used to be hard. Thank you for coming on, man. I really, really appreciate you. I've been trying to get with you for a while now. I've really been watching all your projects. Tell the people how they can follow you, where they can follow you.
so I am on Instagram at mya.bre. So that's Mya.Bre, and everywhere else you can find me Mya.Bre Morton. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Mine. I really, really, really appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's another episode down the drain. No, we don't call it down the drain, but I use the
Yeah,
terminology down the drain. But anyways, another episode down. Thank you for tuning in to In the Know with Joe. Of course, I'm your host, Joe, JViz. You can catch me on Instagram at JVIZ. My cat's distracting me right here. JVIZ _ shots with a Z. That's Z at the end. Thank you very much, Maya, for being on.